Council, please turn on your mic. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mayor, thank you. I would ask that everybody please mute your cell phone and please refrain from texting. Thank you. Is anybody videotaping other than the borough? At this point, I'd just like to remind everybody we're at a budget meeting, and any questions that you have are to be budget specific to something that we've said this evening. We do have a call to citizens at the end of our discussions. Joe, would you like to?
Yeah, the one thing is just to start out, the wood lot, I have missed that on my notes, to put that in there, so that'll be in there next time, $10,000 be applied to the wood lot under recreation.
Are you doing a new line item number?
I'm going to do a new line item, but I'm looking at my notes now, and I totally missed that.
Okay.
I had it written down too. So, but overall, the biggest issues we have are the trash. The trash issue is a big issue because I looked at, did we accept the trash bids?
We did, and what we're gonna do is twice a week household trash,
Okay.
once a week recycling, and once a month heavy trash.
Okay.
We're gonna try that for the first year and see how the weekly recycling goes. If we're still getting the same tonnage,
Right.
it's not productive.
Right. Because I was looking at the prior contract, same guy, because B&L is the same vendor.
Yes.
And for the first year, back in 18-19 was $93,000. Now it's $161,000. That's what the cost. So we charge $245, I believe it is, a household. So we're gonna really have to look at that, where we are with that. And I'm also waiting, all the controversy with the Solid Waste Authority, with Cavanta and everything. I don't know, last year they hit us with a $20 increase in October. They're trying to appoint a new board member now, or they just did appoint a board member, so I assume they're gonna have their annual meeting and tell us if they're gonna increase the waste, the waste charge that they charge us, which comes anywhere from $7,000 to $8,000 a month. I budgeted, so that's our biggest issue right now, is what we're gonna charge for trash.
Well, the problem with that was we only had 2 bidders.
Right, I understand.
And the next bidder was $206,808.
Yeah, mascara, they're way higher. They're always
Way higher. As a matter of fact, everything was higher, so.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's facing it, and then with the Delaware County Waste Authority, they're running out of space to dump. The Berks County landfill's getting, I don't know what they're gonna do, where they're gonna put the trash. That's where Cavanta comes in.
I can speak on that. I attended the county meetings.
Yeah, okay, she's the one that was just last week.
Yeah, I attended the county meeting. So, right now Cavanta burns most of the trash, and then the ash from Cavanta goes into Delaware County's landfill.
Right.
So they're trying to decide if they want to continue that process, if they want to just haul all the trash and put it into the landfill and skip the burning process. And a couple of other things that they're trying to decide as to what to do. But the Delaware County Solid Waste Authority and the county council is seriously considering restructuring how trash is disposed of on a large-scale basis.
Yeah, but that won't happen till.
So, yeah, those contracts won't begin until the middle of next year,
Right.
so.
But that's why I think we're gonna look at, and we went from $33 to $53. I mean, we're probably gonna look at $73 to $80 a ton dump, and it's a lot of money. So that's the biggest issue I see with the budget, because that's, you get that in there, and then you're pretty close to balancing the budget somewhat. Our net mill based on last year, as you remember, the county reassessed, and we had to do a neutral assessment, and we're only allowed to raise 10%. And so our net mill is roughly $109,000. So today, if you did nothing, you'd have to increase your trash and increase taxes about $1 million, which is about $50-60 a household. That's if you did nothing. But this is, if you look in the first column through October 12th, we're doing a pretty good job with our revenues coming in. Our earned income tax is probably going to exceed what I budgeted. And then and the permit fees, that's tough, but they're double this year, which helped us out a lot, give us some extra cash. And then you also, not reflected in this budget is your COVID money. We're sitting on $121,000 currently for this year, and then we're going to get another $121,000 in July of next year. So some of the, you'd have to check with Jay to be sure, because I'm not totally sure. I've been researching it, but the contracted items like that the police wanted, the truck bed, we could possibly pay that with COVID money.
They're all eligible. I've already
Okay.
checked with Jay.
So that right there is
Savings.
$40-some thousand that we'll pay out of COVID money, which isn't reflected in the revenue there.
Right.
And you also had, you do some capital work in the building, so if we can use COVID money, that's gonna really help. That'll keep any kind of increase that we possibly need down, because we can use that for the capital work. And we're gonna have quite a bit of it, and I think there's a time frame to use it. And I'd like to know if we can use it, some of it to contribute to the fire company, if that would assist the fire company. I don't know for sure, but that would save us some money too with our contribution. We can't put it towards the pension, I do know that. So the MMO, we're gonna have to eat that cost, and then that increased cost, which is a pretty substantial jump. That jumped to $50,000, and that's based on our officers going out with 100% disability at a young age. So they had to change the whole actuarial chart. I have everything in there, the code requested, the police, the increases for the fire marshal and the health inspector, and the woodlot will be in there, it'll be another 10, like I said, I missed that. So I'm sorry about that. I still am waiting on the Ben Serve, who does our health insurance, waiting on their, if it's an increase or staying flat. Same with Arthur Gallagher, Arthur Gallagher's went up a teeny bit, so, and our workers' comp came down, which is a credit to the council and our staff. But our comp went down because it was way up there for a while when the police officers were going out on comp. So, I mean, everything's in here. It's just, I don't want to throw numbers down there. It's all preliminary, because as we should have another meeting in November, as we see, because the numbers will be much more, I'll have the assessment from the county, so I can figure out, because I don't know how many people appealed their assessment from last year.
3?
Is that what you had?
The church is a big one. The
Okay.
church is a big one.
Okay, so I'm gonna
25,000.
need that number to calculate this year's millage. And then, of course, the trash, that is what it is. With the trash, you can't subsidize you can't pay the trash with taxes. You pay it with the trash fee. So if we have $200,000 in trash expenses, I can't normally subsidize real estate taxes to offset the trash fee. So what you have to do is you get up the fee. It's an in and out type thing. You pay whatever your trash revenue is, it should equal your trash expenses, pretty ballpark, pretty close. We can't just say we're going to get rid of the trash fee and use real estate taxes to pay the trash fee. So that's the reason the trash has to go up. And I've told everybody, and I've said this in other meetings, you get your trash picked up twice a week, your recyclable twice a month, for $245 a year. I mean, that's dirt cheap. That's the best bill you have. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, you're paying Pico a couple $100 a month. This is for a year, and they do a good job picking up your trash, because the town's nice and clean. So, I mean, that's got to go up. It's out of your control. We don't control the costs. The county does with the dumping. So we have to, and then you bid it out. You took the lowest, most responsible bid. You followed all the rules for that. It is what it is, and it's going to continue to go up for our lifetime. I don't see anywhere trash is ever going to come down. There's just more trash than there are places to put it. And then with recyclables, that was a moneymaker for us 3-4 years ago. Now it's a tanked.
Do you remember when we used to actually get paid for it?
Yeah, you get checks every quarter, big checks.
Big checks. Not anymore.
But And then everything else is pretty much standard. It doesn't change much here. We'll end up probably with a good surplus at the end of the year. I know there's some big issues with the streets, that kind of thing, and you can use COVID money for that, or we had to get a loan or liquid fuel money. That's possible. And then our loan on this building is almost under $200,000. So this was almost close to $500,000. So we paid that down
Right.
quite a bit. And we have no other debt. The borough's in really good shape. No debt. This isn't debt because it's worth more than what we owe. Our police cars are paid off. We don't finance any of that stuff. Most of the stuff in here is pretty brand new in the building. So we're not looking at any big charges going down the line. The increases, I have 3% increases for employees in here. That can be adjusted, whatever needs to see fit. But it's pretty standard. We'll know better in the next few weeks where we are with revenue items, and a couple more of the expense items will come in. I'll get a much better number than I have now, which are just estimates. I'll have pretty much rock solid numbers in a few weeks when the numbers come out. So I'll open up to any kind of questions.
Well, we have solid waste, we have the assessment, we have our insurance premiums, which I understand going into 2022, the insurance rates are not being projected to go very high.
Yeah,
Under
yeah.
5%, which is a
Right.
good thing. So with all those numbers coming together, then we should be able to do our first reading at our November council meeting.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Madam President, I didn't mean to be on my phone. When I first started with the trash and MS4, we did a report I circulated for everybody because there were words that were being used like the Berks County landfill, and I still can't remember the name because they say something nice like Rolling Hills landfill, where all the fly ash goes, was approaching capacity. What they were planning on doing is more vertical integration to expand capacity. And the actual trash to steam plant is burning 3,500 tons a day, generating 80 megawatts of power. I would be astonished if they backed away from that.
I would be too.
So, in that part of the conversation, if recycling starts to really fall flat on its face, there will be recycling. It would just be a second or tier recycling. Glass doesn't necessarily burn. It would collect at the bottom of the incinerator. Metal doesn't necessarily burn. It would collect at the bottom of the incinerator. And the rest of the combustibles would be converted into fly ash and things like that. Because I was a huge proponent of recycling. It diminished slightly when I found out that they had the Green Mile or Green Dragon in China, where they were just taking all of our recycling from the front door of the recycling centers and essentially building these massive walls and basically creating trash in China
That's
to
correct.
be harvested in the future. So that was injured my, desire to push as far as that goes. And a lot more literature anymore has taken away some of that economic, environmental, bump that we liked. I would still love to see it turn into something. Will it turn into a place where it's cradle to grave? There are certain places where if you use 37 tons of aluminum in your something, part of the grave process or its obsolescence means it has to go back to recycling. And we don't have that in place. So this might not have been the forum, but it's a line item on our budget and somewhat worth talking about. So I'm hoping that they stay somewhat stable because there's still value in our revenue.
I find it disheartening because if everybody looks at our totals for recycling, they tend to go up a little bit, then they go down. And we average about only 8 ton, maybe 9 ton a month of recycling.
Which in some cases doesn't warrant
It does not.
doesn't warrant burning 75 gallons of diesel fuel. So as much as I absolutely love it, for years, it's some of the economics and the environmental parts of it have been a little more disheartening.
And I agree, and I'm hoping with us spending, everybody, all the taxpayers, spending more on our trash fee, that they will get, younger families do it, you hear it all the time, younger families are like, that extra hands out there. So maybe we know that
why I
we're
voted
giving
for
it a one-year trial, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome. Councilman Long,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good.
I'm glad.
We're also looking at, depending on if this inflation is temporary or long-term, and we're looking at our gas, the last couple of years has been fantastic. We've been way under budget. If that continues to go up, we're gonna see reflections in our supply line, our gas line, the costs are gonna go up. So I'm trying to budget that accordingly too, because I don't wanna come in based on the last, I normally do a historical analysis of the prior 3 years. But the prior 3 years, the economy was booming before the pandemic. So it's a little more, and then this year, for whatever reason, our revenues are going really well in a pandemic year, but I don't see that continuing because of inflationary costs. People are gonna start hoarding some money now instead of spending it. They're gonna have to save some because going to the grocery store is double. I filled my tank, it was $30, it's almost $60 now for a full tank. It's doubled. It's crazy. I watched it, it was $2.18 not too long, and now it's $3.45 at the Wawa. It's crazy.
$3.49.
Yeah, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
and when gas costs go up, and then with the supply shortages, I don't know if since we don't do a lot of most of the stuff's local, but we could be affected by that too, by the cost of pricing. And then with the permit fees and stuff, there might be less people doing work. Because people can't afford it. They've done a lot of work to their houses the last couple of years. Permit fees in a lot of towns are up. I don't know if that's going to continue because people need to save some money because they don't know where the costs are going to go. So it's a difficult year budgeting. You think it wouldn't be, but it is because of all the scenarios that are playing into it.
And we've been lucky. This year, our code and building department has really progressed from the last 2020.
Absolutely.
But you're right, groceries are going up, gasoline is going up. Homeowners, especially with families to feed, I don't know that they would continue to do any type of construction.
Right.
So it's an if. Councilman, I know you said you wanted to bring up a few things tonight.
Where are you?
I'm sorry?
Where are you?
We went through the things that have increased. We have several things that are unknown. We're projecting, anything I've read, we've projected that the insurances will not go high this coming year. We still need assessments from the county, which usually comes in mid-November,
Yeah,
if I remember.
15.
So we need insurance assessments, we need the tax assessments, and we need to find out what solid waste is going to charge because they're hinting an increase.
Right.
And of course, trash fee is going up because of the contract and the cost of trash,
Right.
so. Did you want to,
Well-
Councilman Long had mentioned to me, he had a few things to bring up.
There's
That's
just the one
why-
thing that when we're going over the budget, that we're looking to try to keep within budget and keep things down. And I know last budget meeting, we had talked about, let me see, I got my notes. Money for training, putting money in for training, I think it was like $5,000.
For the police budget,
No, it was for the
council?
council and for the employees.
I don't know that that got put in there.
There's $1,000.
There's
in the
$1,000.
dues and subscriptions, and you get a PSAB offers all kinds of programs.
Right.
Really
I thought we had put it, was
No,
requested for $5,000.
I think the majority felt that PSAB offers so many free training. Nick
I pay for
Does
my
his
own.
Right.
Rob does his own.
Rob does his
Right, and
own.
that's what I wanted to make sure that we
Yes.
continue that. people
Well,
who-
that's in there, Eric, that's in there, but it's not at that number, it's a much lower number because of trainings. I have it in each department. And then, of course, the administrative is the $1,000. I mean, it might cost $25 a person through the PSAB, it's not real expensive.
Yeah, I just don't want to see you going for paying for people's certifications other than.
And then
No,
they
that's-
leave.
Right, exactly, and that's why we stopped paying for.
That's correct.
Certifications.
That's correct.
So you pay for it yourself to take it with you.
Mhm.
Okay. I thought I saw it was 5,000.
And Beneserv does offer a lot of training,
Yes.
a lot. So I mean, I would almost, I don't know, make the motion for $200, so there's like a continued, like, here's what's, it's printed out, it's sent out, it's 400 separate classes that you can log into, you can do something like that.
There's so much free, if you take the moment to Google it, that you can learn.
Or you can just they'll give you a
You can do
login.
days.
Beneserv is our insurance carrier.
Yes.
They
And if you
will,
pay for it yourself, it's a tax write-off.
Oh, yeah,
Because that's all my certifications I get, right?
there you go.
They're tax write-off.
Madam President, looking through this, one thing that we talked about, and I thought we all agreed on last meeting that wasn't changed in the second writing, 450 for the parks and playground contracted services, we were gonna up that to 6,700.
Yeah, that's.
It's still at the
that's one-
35?
Yeah, I missed that, the woodlot, the last page.
Okay.
That's
I
what-
had that- I had-
Okay, I know you mentioned the woodlot, I didn't know,
Yes.
I didn't hear you mention this, the contracted services.
Yeah,
That's my
I
fault,
missed it.
sorry.
That'll be, that's my fault, Eric.
Yeah, he's gonna plug that in. He's,
Those
Joe
two-
mentioned that
Those
at
two
the beginning.
figures.
Like I said, I heard him mention the woodlot, I didn't hear that one. Okay.
Yep, we're gonna
Thank
plug
you.
that in with a new line item number so we can segregate that. Eric, do you have anything?
Yeah, that was basically it.
Okay. Mrs. Guy, do you have any questions on the second meeting preliminary?
I just have, I see that fire marshal salary and also health inspector are going up significantly. Fire marshal salary is doubling from 5,000 to 10,000,
Mm-hmm.
and health inspector from 5,000 to 8,000.
Yes, I believe we talked about that. I'm not sure if we did. The fire marshal slash health inspector slash emergency manager has not ever received an increase in his salary in any of the three categories. As a matter of fact, emergency management was always a freebie, so that it was included with any type of stipend. It was not a separate segregated category,
It hasn't been increased since,
ever.
like,
I don't.
30 years ago.
I can only tell you, I've been on council for 20 years, and it has never been increased.
Never received anything in 6 years.
That's correct. And emergency management personnel has never been a paid position. It's always been thrown into the mix. And I'm not sure if anybody is aware, emergency management is personnel is not someone we just put in that position. Not only do they need specific training and credentials, but once council makes that decision on that person and that person agrees to it, that position by appointment goes to the governor. So that our emergency personnel person, as everybody knows, is Rob Powers. So that when he's called out in the last 2 years over the COVID issues, any emergency situations here in the borough, he is not getting paid for that. His training, he has paid himself. With the health inspector, emergency personnel, and the fire marshal, Mr. Powers holds 3 positions. And again, I can only speak for the last 20 years and 2 months, I guess, 3 months. Has never received any type of compensation for emergency management and never received a pay increase.
And also for equipment.
Or,
I own all that equipment.
that's correct.
The radio alone is $6,000. The gear is over $4,000. So when I go, that goes with me, the borough's going to have to pay for that. Radio, boots, investigative equipment, helmet, safety glasses, gloves, jacket. It all belongs to me personally.
That's correct.
I think it's,
I've also, during COVID, made over 25 trips to Westchester County during COVID, sat in on over 4 weeks of meetings in Westchester in the health department, and never saw a dime for it. Never billed the borough for expenses, gas, mileage, lunches, nothing.
I think it's,
That was all free to the borough.
it's proven that it should be raised because,
I agree.
especially with the past pandemic, and then we had that issue, was it last year or the year before, we had with the trash, with the recycle, we had chemo being thrown out, and Rob got involved in that, and he had to go. I think it's just, he's proven that we need him.
I cannot tell you how many times.
And the pandemic itself. I mean,
The pandemic itself, I can't tell, I didn't keep track of how many times during each event, Rob and I spoke from 9 in the morning until 9 at night. It was like every 20 minutes I was getting an update. We had a firefighter from Brookhaven injured in a firehouse, in a house fire, and continual connections there. How many times Rob's been to places of business because there's been complaints. Dunkin' Donuts, the employees would not wear their masks. Rob was there every couple days. So, Mrs. Guy, I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have any questions?
I got a quick question.
Sure.
Does anybody know offhand what the shortages are for volunteer fire services?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, some of the allocation is the stronger relationship between the Canton Borough, period, and the firehouse. It also has something to do with, there is a epidemic of lack of support with volunteers at that. So above and beyond holding those positions, I find it hard to be like, well, last year you did this, but going forward, there is a need for a stronger liaison with the fire department that entails monetary.
Well, the fire department's got 2 new members.
I was just going to say, we have,
No, I understand.
and this
It's
may not be a
dynamic,
budget
but-
issue, but we have 2 new members within our group who belong to the fire company.
No, I appreciate it, but I can't
Yeah.
budget for what we did last year. I have to budget for what we're gonna do this year. And the strong relationship,
It's important.
combating the fact
We
that
have fire
less
company
people
members in the back.
volunteer.
Yes, we
So-
do.
It just makes a bigger difference and it's easier
I
to
agree.
budget for.
I agree, thank you. Nick, do you have any questions?
I'm good to go.
Harry?
Nope, no, already answered the ones I had.
Super. Mr. Sidlow, do you have any questions?
Just more of labeling. So, one says salary animal warden. We obviously don't have an animal warden.
It's
on
a
We
salary.
do have an-
Brand new one, that they bill us a fee based
Yes.
on when they get called out.
Sure, but it's more of a contracted service.
It's contract, it's not an employee.
It's not, okay, so it's just,
I can change it in wording or that.
yeah, that was more a labeling term. And then, I see a line item for commercial crime. The chief is not here. Does anybody know why that's a separate line item, or
That-
how that's investigated differently, or just, I don't really understand that.
Go ahead,
It's-
Jeff.
I don't question it, I just trying to understand.
It's part of our insurance packages.
Yeah, it's very inexpensive. It's I think it's for more internal type stuff, but it's a blanket over all our crime issues like internet and stuff like that, any type of issues like that, and it's a pretty cheap policy. We leave it, Gallagher does a good job. They provide us with all the new stuff when we need it. Insurance, I don't know insurance at all, other than commercial.
So that's an insurance policy that?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
part of the insurance policy, and it's, what I have, $3,000, I think it is.
And I think
Yeah,
that
50.
one, we have several insurance policies that renew every 3 years.
Right.
So that might not.
That's a 3-year one.
That's a
commercial
3-year
crime.
one. So it might not hit this year, but if it does, we've got the money there.
Yeah, and it's pretty standard now. And, I mean, the biggest one we have is our workers' comp.
And for everybody on board, we do have an outstanding contract with Brandywine SPCA, I think for 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah,
It was
because
a
the
5-year
county
contract.
stopped accepting them, and that
That's
jumped the
right.
cost up too, a couple of years ago when the SPCA closed up.
Yeah.
It cost us a lot of money.
And the
everybody-
county never followed through with their own building, so,
So everybody's using Brandywine on that.
that's
now,
right.
And they're reasonable.
Mr. Sidlow, anything else?
That was something that stuck out in reviewing last month's meeting.
Super. Doug, you okay? Unless council has anything else, I'll ask the citizens, if you have any questions pertaining to what we just spoke about concerning budget items only. If you would please give us your name and your address and what your question would be.
Michael Koski, into the board of the building. Could you just clarify what the proposed salary was?
Clarify, I'm not,
Like the
numbers, I will look it up for you.
5,000?
Go ahead.
Fire marshal salary is $5,000. So 421, health inspectors $5,000, and then fire marshal. I'm sorry, I'm looking at last year's budget. So fire marshal salary this year, projected for 2022, $10,000. That's 411,365. Health inspector, 421,110 is 8,000 projected. And I think that was the increases.
Those were the 2 increases.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to say that considering the job that Mr. Powell has done, I think those salaries will be well.
Thank you. Does anybody else in the audience have a question concerning budget items only that we just spoke about? Ladies and gentlemen, council, unless there's any other issues, Eric, I've asked Joe to have, by our council meeting in November, to have a preliminary budget. Council, please be aware, that will be our first reading of the preliminary budget. For our newer members, the second and adoption of the budget will be at our December meeting.
Yeah, we have to have it available for 10 business days for the public. We can't do any changes to it once we adopt the preliminary. It'll have to be advertised that it was adopted, and then we can't make any changes until 10-day review, and you can change them to the final passage.
CDBG is November, or will it be in October this year?
I'm sorry?
CDBG, will it be,
Um,
that's typically
Getting
November?
Getting off track, we will do a CDBG in November. However, as everybody may be aware, our guidelines for projects have now closed into location in the borough. So we may have no projects, but it's an idea. I would like to remind council that the preliminary budget for meeting number 2, as in meeting number 1, is confidential material. It is not to be shared. It is not ready for public view.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, sir? Thank you, everyone.